Okay. All right. Well, I'm Nancy Priest, and I own a company called Glass of Learning. And Glass of Learning is all about the analogies of the glass half full, the perception of how we see ourselves, the looking glass, or the half full is how we see the world, the looking glass is how we see ourselves, the glass ceiling is how far we can go, and we're all about shattering perceptions and releasing human potential. So I started the company 6 years ago, although I have spent pretty much all of my my career in corporate learning. And so we work with organizations all over the world to design learning solutions that will make a difference to change behavior and release human potential.
That's wonderful.
Okay. So the award that we received was the Award of Excellence for designing learning experiences. And the program that we designed was called Leadership Road. Leadership Road is the umbrella for all of our leadership levels. And this was actually the supervisor leadership program. And the people on my team who were very involved in the design process were Kristen Cross, Ryan Schwartz, and Sharon Zayer. And so together we created this pretty interesting pedagogy of learning that we're very proud of.
Tell us a little bit more about the journey of the project. So, what were the conditions that kind of triggered this need to have this project in place?
Okay. Well, a chemical process manufacturer approached us, and they were interested in our 6-day frontline leadership program. And the need that they had was succession planning. They felt that they did not have people coming up through the ranks that they were ready to promote. And they had high turnover. So that was creating a problem. In some areas, they had, real gaps before they were able to fill in roles. Employee engagement was low because of their engagement surveys. It was telling them that. And also they wanted a consistent way that leaders led people. So they wanted something extensive. They definitely didn't want one and done. They wanted something that was going to create behavior change, but also integrate quality and safety procedures with leadership so that it was very common throughout the organization. And these were manufacturing facilities throughout Canada and the US that we would be focusing on.
What were the
Wow.
challenges? I'm sure there were a couple that might be something that you were not expecting. And then, how did you go around those and got to
Okay.
survive them?
Well, one of the big challenges was that the organization were also rolling out SAP. And SAP is an enterprise-wide system. So they were doing this at the very same time that we were doing this large rollout. And what's interesting about our program is that it's 27 weeks in duration. So it is not for the faint of heart. You need to be really committed to making change in leadership because we can guarantee behavior change if you follow the process. And so not only did we have this 27-week process of learning in place, but there was also SAP, which was huge, to learn the processes, create the subject matter experts in the different areas of SAP in the plants. So that was a big thing. Also, we wanted, sometimes because of the SAP schedule, we needed to adjust our schedule. And therefore, if we were going to have longer time between our segments, we needed to create more learning transfer. So sometimes we had 14 weeks of learning transfer between a program, which is very extensive. And so what also happened is that we needed to have managers involved, and so how to engage management at the same time when they are trying to introduce something so major to the organization. So those were some definite challenges that we were facing.
Wow, that's amazing. And how did you go around and how did you overcome them?
Okay. Well, we decided to learn as much about the organization as we could so that we were very familiar with the players and the people, the locations, what were some of the nuances and the challenges that they were having. And as we started, we had a learning transfer platform, and as we started the process, we realized that what the client thought they wanted was not what they actually wanted. And so we had to, partway through, totally redesign our own learning transfer platform. So we did create the programming and do all the design for a learning transfer platform that they would be able to use, so that we were not just tracking activity, but we were tracking productivity. So initially they were happy to just think, yeah, just tell us that people are doing things. But then they'd say, well, how well did they do it? And did they learn anything? And so because of that, what we had designed originally wasn't going to work because it wasn't designed for that. So we redesigned it. And that's where the team was incredible to be able to jump in, figure that out, and truly track the behavior change that people were making as they moved through the process.
There will be individuals looking at your video and your award and your company, and then they might have some ideas on, I'd like to try one of the thoughts that kind of Nancy shared with us. What would be that one thing that you would suggest to individuals wanting to kind of follow your strategy?
Well, I would say that it's important to understand the organization that you're going to be working with. It's important to understand what's important to them. And sometimes it's very hard for an organization to articulate that because they've never really had to think about it in those terms. They only know change my people, make them different. And so sometimes, we all wish we could go to the gym one day and run a marathon the next, but it doesn't work that way. And it's the same with changing any type of behavior. So I always find it very important to really understand the organization so that our examples totally reflect their world. The more the learning can reflect the organization's world, the quicker and the more enabled people are to learn. If it's foreign to them and they've got to get their heads around it, that's really hard. So we have to make it easy for people, and we do that by reflecting the learner's world in the learning. So that's our job as the learning professional, to reflect that world, and then they can catch on fairly quickly to what it is that they need to be doing. So I always find that is a really important piece to be able to put in place. And then also with any kind of learning, you must have learning transfer, because there's really nothing to evaluate 6 months later if no one's done anything for 6 months. So having that opportunity to practice, apply, tell us, and what was unique about our program is that people would apply for badges every single week. They had required badges and they had additional badges that would build culture, all things they could get points for. But we didn't want to know that they had a coaching conversation. We wanted to know, what did you learn from having that coaching conversation? So they had to reflect and then put those words back down on paper to tell us, and then we manually approved every one of those badges. We had thousands. Thousands over the 27-week process, but every one of them is manually approved so that we can guarantee at the end of those 27 weeks, we know for a fact that your people understood this when they finished. Now, if nothing was reinforced or supported in the work environment, we can go to the gym for a year, and then if we don't go again for another year, we start to lose all of that. So it works the same in any behavior change process. Sometimes they'd be quite short, but people would start to see how it's made them a better leader and it's made them a better parent, because these are principles of how we behave, and those are applicable to all areas of our lives. So when people are telling us those stories, honestly, we would live for that, just to read the stories and hear how people were really catching on to the learning and the difference, because now their teams were starting to turn and connect and see that they really cared about them as individuals, and that just inspired us to keep reading and approving. Well, I definitely would want to thank the Institute for Performance and Learning and the judges. I know how much time it took me to prepare the presentation, and I'm sure it took you a very long time to read the presentation. So I thank you for your dedication to that. A massive thank you to my amazing team, Kristen Crost, Ryan Schwartz, and Sharon Zayer, for their talent and their dedication and their contribution to this project, which was a bit of a mystery when we started and as everything unfolded, but they all really jumped to the challenge and made this successful. And of course, to our wonderful customer who really was willing to go the journey and learn with us and really embrace the need for change and take that on. So I thank you.